Okay, hi everybody, and I'm welcoming Andy Churchill to the interview today. So thank you, Andy, for joining me.
That's a pleasure.
Andy's obviously one of my customers, so I want him to tell us a little bit more about what he's been doing with his business, Lace Market Apartments, if I'm right, Andy.
That's right. Yeah. So I suppose we bought the company, really. It was a different name back then, about nearly 3 years ago. We were already investors. We'd already done a bit of development work, and we realized that what with Brexit and that sort of thing, making it a bit harder, we needed to diversify what we were doing, and looking into various other things within property. We thought serviced apartments would be a good way to go.
So were you actually doing the developments to create serviced apartments?
So we actually do it on a number of different ways. So the main way is the block of apartments that we've got.
Yeah.
If you like, we're based in the Lace Market in the centre of Nottingham. It's the old city of Nottingham.
Beautiful place.
It's a really lovely place to be. The basement actually has some spare space in it, so we thought that's great. We'll put our office in there, and then we've got 8 apartments elsewhere in the building. I mean, it's a mix of studios, 2 beds, and we've got the penthouse on the top floor, which is fabulous, really, and it's very popular, I have to say. Not cheap, but popular.
Yeah. What you paid for.
Absolutely, but it's good. I mean, it's we've refurbished over the last year during COVID, taking the opportunity with slightly lower bookings to do a bit of that. And we decided we must diversify, because you never quite know, when one part of the business might not be doing quite so well. And fortunately, we diversified at the right time, because our development side of the business now is not really doing very much at all. And that's mainly because it's very difficult to pin down contractors. Materials prices are going sky high, and it's very difficult to really kind of pin down what your margin is going to be at the start of a project. So
so all of this, you believe, is because we've obviously been through Brexit, we've obviously had COVID. There's been several things that have impacted the market as a whole, hasn't there? But with the serviced accommodation, then how did you find that through the COVID time?
So right at the beginning of COVID, so 18 months or whatever it is ago, I mean, right up until that actually hit us, we were doing really well, and we were literally just about to have a major expansion, and then bookings fell off the edge of a cliff, and it just all disappeared. And I have to say, for us, the government help has been great. We're still here. We know that a number of people are not. Thank the Lord we are still here, because we can go on to greater and better things. So we were fortunate in as much as we were able to stay open. We had business, commercial people coming and staying with us, those people that were allowed to travel, during COVID for business purposes. So we had some of those, and then it got to I don't know, July, August last year, I think, when we realized that things were starting to get better enough for us to think about expansion again. So we've known one of the local agents for quite a long time now, and they wanted to get into serviced accommodation. They had no expertise in it, but they knew that we did, and from there was born a joint venture, a JV. So that JV is working very nicely, and we are gradually every month or so adding another apartment to the portfolio. It's not fast enough, because...
So are you doing those on a rent-to-rent type of basis, or are you buying?
So no, we're not buying. So the various ways that we do it, just to summarize quickly on that side of things, is firstly, obviously, we bought the business in which sits the property, which is our main base. Okay, so that's the main one. One of the developments that we did, we converted some offices to apartments. There were 10 in the block. We sold all of those. 2 of them we sold to an investor who then rented them back to us. So yes, we are doing rent to rent on those.
Okay.
This particular, when we expanded from last year, the JV is a 50-50 JV. So all the costs are shared equally, as are all the profits. It has a slightly rent to rent feel about it, but if effectively it's a JV in the way that it's set up. And the other way that we do it is we're now starting to act as managing agent for other landlords who are getting fed up with the standard kind of AST rental model. Have realized that this, because it's a commercial model and not specifically a residential model, means that you can extract yourself from the statutory regulatory framework, and actually you don't have to buy your selective license from the council and all that sort of thing. So those are the sort of ways that we are doing. You know, 4 different models in that, I think, in the way that we're doing SAs at the moment.
Sounds great. And I mean, the SA market right now is literally, as things have come out of COVID, and obviously with the overseas travel restrictions, etc., more and more people are using them for the holidays now, aren't they? So it's all gone a little bit crazy.
Absolutely right. I mean, we have a good international market, and so we have people coming over who are traveling. We have quite a number of Hong Kong people coming over since that's all blown up, and but we have other people coming from literally all over the world for loads of different reasons. I mean, you know, you've got a lot of people coming from the Middle East and the Far East who bring their children over to the universities, for instance, and we got people coming over from, or we did have, and they're starting to come again, from America and other places for travel and educational purposes, in fact, where they bring trips over. So, you know, the lecturers come and stay with us, and that they find other accommodation for the
it's a really good market then within Nottingham.
Good. It's good, yeah. I mean, it's you know, it's a fairly major place, so people know about it. Obviously, the Robin Hood tourism aspect is known worldwide, so people come for those reasons. Obviously, the castle has had £30 million spent on it, so that's been totally refurbished, and we're now marketing that. So yeah, a lot more people are coming to us. But I have to say, that's not our main market. It's quite interesting because there's a massive amount of development going on in Nottingham. A lot of it is for student blocks, but we actually managed to take on one of the sales managers from one of our competitors who closed down, and she's filled us up to the brim, and we've got lots of contractors coming and staying with us, which is great. So, you know, Monday to Thursday, or even Sunday to Thursday, sorry, Sunday to Friday, Monday to Friday, or Sunday to Friday, we're absolutely, you know, chock-a-block with the commercial business element, and then the weekend is the bonus with the you know, the tourism and leisure and that sort of thing. So it works really, really well.
It's interesting because obviously the serviced accommodation model, it sounds like you've really hit the perfect spot, because you've got that mix of the commercial plus the holiday makers or people coming to visit the area, so which means your occupancy levels are obviously very high, aren't they?
Yes, they are. I mean, the occupancy, I would say we've just kind of blown 90% again last month, which is just fantastic. It's one of those things where you know, month on month since March this year, our revenues have grown, as I say, month on month, which, bearing in mind we're still coming out of COVID effectively, I'm pretty pleased with, to be honest, Tracey.
That's really, really good. I mean, it's so let's talk about you obviously are a customer of Landlord Smart.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
what made you use Landlord Smart as an option to fund the furniture?
Well, the obvious option is it releases you capital.
Yeah.
So you know, we'd done a couple of developments, and there was capital that we had to put into the show homes or the show apartments initially, and as we then started to sell them, it was okay, well, we'd move all of that around, but it was capital that was tied up for a period of time.
Yeah.
And it made sense to try and release that capital, so we came to you guys at Landlord Smart. And the sort of, you know, there was lots of paperwork to fill in, but with your help, actually that wasn't that hard. You know, it was good guidance that we had, I have to say. So because some of these things are not obvious, but actually, you know, you led us quite well down, you know.
So we actually financed what you'd already bought.
Yeah, so in our case, we found out about you after we'd committed ourselves to what we were doing. I know other people do it, you know, a slightly different way sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's going to be an option for us in the future, obviously. And it partly depends on our suppliers as to whether they're registered with your system and that sort of thing. But it's not a big deal to us, because, you know, we've got some cash there. We can buy the furniture. We can then come to you, fill all the forms in, and then do the sort of sale and lease back.
Yes.
And it works. So and the key thing is obviously it keeps releasing that cash as we do it each time.
Yeah.
So
cash is king, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cash is king, for sure. Well, interesting that you talked about suppliers, because obviously we do work with a lot of suppliers, but you know, if there are any new suppliers that we're not working with currently, then we can always look to work with them. We're always adding new suppliers to that.
Yeah, that's all good.
When you do come across doing things like that, then so it's interesting that the top thing for you is regarding the capital, because obviously the serviced accommodation model is slightly different to the world of HMOs, isn't it? Where serviced accommodation, you can actually claim it as an expense within your business anyway, can't you, when you furnish?
Yeah, you can, but you've still got to put the cash in. So, you know,
yeah,
you might as well.
We end up with two different types of customer, really. It's, you know, the world of HMOs, obviously they're getting the tax benefits of being able to offset it, as well as that release of the capital. But the serviced accommodation sector is still, they come to us because of that capital. So that is the biggest thing for people.
Yeah, that's right.
Because cash is king. And if you can use that cash to do more, that's what it's all about, isn't it?
That's right. Absolutely.
So how do people get in contact with you and find out more about, because you've obviously got a lot of experience within the world of property development and everything else. You know, I've known you for several years, Andy, now. So
well, I've been in the property industry for, I don't know, donkey's years now. I trained as a chartered surveyor, so I've kind of been in from that angle, and then I left, you know, the last job or whatever it was in 2011, and I suppose I've been running, you know, businesses since then. You know, whether that be just investment or development, or now, you know, service accommodation. I guess the best thing, if people want to find out about us, is to look at our website, which is Lace Market Apartments.
It's a fantastic name, because obviously the area, I mean, the Lace Market area of Nottingham is so well known, isn't it? The historical side of it.
That's why we gave it that name.
And I see that lovely picture that's behind you of the penthouse apartment, I suppose.
Oh yes,
your website as well.
Yeah.
It does look very nice.
That's all pretty. Yeah, people, our guests love it. It's great. There's so much space up there. It's wonderful. So you've got a good view over some of the city as well. So that's quite good.
So what's the plan going forward for you and the business? And
it's expansion. So you know, we're trying different ways of finding properties in Nottingham, not just in the city centre, but slightly further afield as well. and we're looking to try and educate landlords to who some landlords who are existing landlords who are fed up with the standard AST type of rental that we have known and loved for many years, because if they can use that as a serviced accommodation property, then you actually extract yourself from some of the statutory regulatory framework.
Yes.
And life is a little easier in that respect, because it is a commercial operation. So we're trying to educate landlords on that front. And if people have money and they want to invest in property, then again, we can operate as their managing agent, but again, on the basis of using it as a serviced accommodation property, because life is easier. And there are so many advantages. I mean, there's so much demand. I mean, people have said, well, no, I'd rather give a 12-month tenancy on an AST basis to a tenant because then I'm guaranteed to get the rent. Well, you don't know that they're still going to be there 2 months down the line, whereas we've got so much demand at the moment that we can pretty much guarantee that will continue beyond that. And also, I mean, just little things like you've got total control of the property. There is no tenant security of tenure, for instance.
Yeah. So getting people to leave is not an issue.
Exactly. There's no Section 21, Section 8, or whatever problems that you have, getting to the court and expenses. So, we are going in the property on a regular basis. So all those maintenance things get nipped in the bud. You don't have a 12-month tenancy and then thousands of pounds you've got to spend on a property to get it up to tenantable standard again. So many advantages. We're constantly trying to educate landlords that this is the way to go.
So actually, the hope is that you're going to, through educating landlords, them realizing the benefits of it, that you can take on more and more as far as the management side of it goes. And those landlords might need our help as well, so they could definitely.
Absolutely right. I think this is a very much something where it's a symbiotic relationship, because if landlords are setting up new properties, or they're having to refurbish existing properties. I mean, for instance, one of the key things that we always say is you need zip and link beds. You can't just have double beds anymore, because you've got to have that versatility. So you're going to have to need new beds and that sort of thing. That's exactly the sort of thing where I would bring them to you and say, can we facilitate this? And I know that you can. So it's a no-brainer to go down that route.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it sounds like you've got some really exciting things. I'm going to be a little bit controversial now, because I know that there's a lot of negative views on the fact that a lot of landlords are now converting to the serviced accommodation model, which means that it's impacting the residential market for those families that still need to find somewhere to live. What would be your view on that? Because if you have your way, you're going to scrape up as many properties as you can, convert them to serviced accommodation. So that could have a negative impact on the normal family rental sector.
That's right.
That?
Well, I don't. Okay, so I'm equally going to be slightly controversial. So I think that if councils really wanted to deal with that, they would level out what they're agreeing to within their planning process. Certainly within a number of major cities, there's an enormous amount of student accommodation has been approved and is in the process of being developed. And that actually is having a greater impact on the lack of available stock for ordinary lettings, if you like. And it's actually beyond, I think it's beyond the impact that serviced accommodation is having on the normal stock for a lot of people say, oh well, we need family houses and all that sort of thing. Well, what people are failing to realize is that the cohort distribution has changed over the last number of years, and we actually have smaller sort of nuclear families, if you like. So we used to have, you know, mum and dad, 2.4 children, half a dog, and all the rest of it. And you needed a large family house for that sort of thing. Well, you've now got many more single people not getting married or getting together with somebody until much later in life. You've got many more single parents. And so you actually need a lot more smaller units of accommodation. So those are what needs to be developed. So those are where councils and government need to concentrate on approving, and they're not doing that at the moment. So you can't have complaints about us in the service accommodation industry preventing that when they're not actually providing that themselves. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, very good point. Very good point. It's an interesting one because, you know, as with everything, you always get the positive and the negative. And you know, we as private property investors, we all have our own views on what the government does, don't we? For sure.
The thing is that there is demand for the service that we're providing. Okay. And what we need is both and. It's not that we want one at the exclusion of the other. Yeah. So, you know.
Definitely. Well, that's a very interesting thing to end the interview on. So thank you very much for joining me, Andy. It's been lovely to speak to you because I know I haven't seen you for a long time.
It's been too long.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we were all shut down, weren't we? Nobody could go anywhere. Now we'll be getting back out into the world again. So hopefully we'll bump into each other at some point. You never know. I might come up and stay in Nottingham and come and
that'd be good.
Your lovely penthouse.
I was going to say, I know a lovely place you could stay.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. You will provide us with all the contact details for yourself.
Yes.
Want to have a chat with you, find out more about what you're doing, and obviously rent some of your lovely serviced accommodation units. And we look forward to having you as a customer again in the future. I'm
sure you will. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Andy. You take care.
And you. Thanks, Tracy. Bye.
Bye.